most people listening right now, most people just won't.
Did you catch what she just said?
Find a true differentiator. Find something that sets you apart so much that it's undeniable to somebody.
I see.
If, for instance, if I sent this to Mark Cuban, I send him a lot of stuff, right? I send him he's going to tear it down, everything, because that's what he does. He's going to find the problems with it, right?
Yeah.
Get yourself in a situation where you have the answers before you even going to see it. So make it defensible as the answer. Make it defensible.
I see.
I've interviewed hundreds of millionaires and billionaires. I've worked with hundreds of them, and then I've become one. There's so much information that I have picked up along the way. And what I realized mostly was, wait a second. First of all, almost anybody, I'll say almost anybody can be a millionaire. It's not for some special group of people. The second thing is, the skills needed to become a millionaire can be taught and handed out freely. When I learned those two things, I said, we have to get this information out to more and more people. It can't be this thing that we just look at and aspire to. And if you're someone who's like, I don't want $1 million, I don't need $1 million, do it just because you can, and then give it away, You give it away. It's your money. You can spend it on whatever you want, right? But do it just because you can, because there are a group of people who are doing it just because they can. And we need the power, control, all the things collectively that we can do with it. I'm always in the headspace that the company that is led by someone who is underestimated, that will be the next $1 billion company or the next $1 million company, but I'm getting there on the ground floor, I'm one step away from that person. So I'm always open to the idea of hearing and learning. I will say, when I'm working, like if I'm at a speaking event or a networking event or just hanging out, when people are always like coming to me and the first thing they say to me is, this is my company, I kind of space out a little bit because I get pitched so often, so many places. The better way to get my attention is meet me as a person, like talk to me, like one-on-one, just talk to me. If you have 10 seconds with me, if you have 2 hours, just talk to me. And then let my curiosity lead the way. Just know that the moment you take outside funding, it's no longer a family business, right? And it's no longer the very core of what you all stand for could be robbed. So I can imagine there are a few people across the country, several of them, who are hearing this and would hear from you all and hear, I want to have that where I live. I would definitely take their blueprint. If they gave me the blueprint, came in, you send people in for like a week to your location, you teach them and train them at your location, and you give them certain logos and banners and different things like that in the language, and you send them back home, and they pay you an upfront fee and then a yearly fee to have the right to franchise with you. I think that could be really interesting. In that way, it could also grow a little slower. You take all your learnings from it. It sounds like you need a partner, and I don't mean just like any partner. I mean someone that maybe is already in your world, in your universe, who believes in what you believe in, understands your mission and what you want to achieve, but is that person who prefers to do the execution of it, help you with the community building, and you're still like the figurehead and the visionary, but this other person's helping you build the actual mechanics of it. And I would say do it in the real world, even if it's locally, first. Build it, some version of that in the real world to show what you're talking about, and then say to someone who is a bigger partner of yours, this is what I want to build in the metaverse. I've already done this. Like for instance, we're at this event right now. Lamar Tyler has 1,000 Black entrepreneurs on the rise in Atlanta right now. You can hear the music in the background. It's going off, 3-day event. People are still in the game. If Lamar said to me, I want to build something in the metaverse that emulates this, I would understand his vision because I've seen it physically. I would say, oh, I can believe you can do that because you've done it physically. But I would still say to him, you need to partner with someone who does metaverse stuff. So you might want to go to somebody like Lamar, who already has a in-person community, whatever it might be, that emulates the vision that you have in the metaverse, and say, can we turn this into something? Because you're trying to do all kinds of things that are really hard all at once. You're trying to build from scratch a community, which is one of the biggest, toughest things to do. You're trying to build all kinds of economic empowerment, et cetera, et cetera. Biggest things, toughest things to do. I would start with someone who has some of this already, and you bring your visionary piece to it that is different than they already have.
You have so much control and power using YouTube. So you can get in and find a niche on YouTube. And if you have the patience, give it a full year, you will make such strides. And there's a monetization. I feel like in 2 years, I could be having a conversation with you where you have 100,000 people following you and looking at your videos every time you post. The key is all this year, starting next week, post an intro. Welcome back to my channel. This is what I'm doing here. This is what I care about. And then each week, 1 day a week, post something that is 8 minutes to an hour, whatever. Post it every single week and get a little bit better every single week and plan it out. Say, this is what the next 3 months are going to look like. This is what the topics are going to be, and kind of see the audience. I don't care if you get 20 views. Look at the data and see what they looked at. It tells you when they stopped watching, when they rewound. Look at the data, learn from it, post the next week. Post the next week. And then this is the most important part. Do a lot of research on YouTube about the most successful YouTubers. Watch their videos about how they did it. Most people listening right now, most people just won't. And then there are people, a very few people, who will do that for a year and they win.
I believe in this body, in this life, we only have one time. And it's going to pass you by if you're spending years, more years. If you've already spent it, look in the rear view, bye. But if you spend more years and more years and more years wondering if you're allowed to be in a certain room or take up certain space, it's going to pass you by and it's going to be too late. But everybody in this room has plenty of room this way, in front of them, to change that. So imposter syndrome is a phrase. It's just 2 words. You have to learn to repeat yourself. You know how many times I've told, sleeping on the floor at the San Francisco airport, how many times those words have come out of my mouth? But every single time I say it, somebody in the audience, multiple people go, oh, I didn't know that. Now I understand her perspective on this other answer she gave. Every single day, somebody's discovering a podcast I recorded 4 years ago. Every single minute of the day, somebody's listening to my words here. And I got to be willing to repeat myself, to archive myself, to humble myself enough. And I don't say humble. Like, I don't think humility is a big thing that we need to worry about. But just to know that I'm always learning and everybody else is always learning. It is the right way to think about it. I would say, though, what has helped me as a VC is having worked as a founder or with another company. So you don't have to have your own idea, but you can be the third person hired. Think about the people who were the third people hired at Uber, Facebook. I'm telling you, those are so important hires, such important hires. Then you go work there a year or two, get some equity, learn a ton, get a network.
Right.
And you are setting yourself up, and you can do this. I did this interview with Valerie Workman, who is a Black woman who was at several places, including Tesla. Took Tesla from 50,000 people to 100,000 people. And she said in our interview, people thought I was flighty because I would leave a job every 2 years, but instead I was stacking talent, the skills. And now she can just go anywhere she wants to go. So that's what I would do. So yes, you can get into venture, and I wouldn't hold that, stop you from doing that. But I think what might be more stimulating for you is to work at a company to see what it's about, like an early company, not one that's just started, because they won't have their money.
Right.
But one that maybe has some funding, or they figured it out on their own. They're going into, let's call it Series A or something like that. They've raised a couple $1 million, or they have generated that, where you can have a really profound effect on what they do and their trajectory.
Feedback. of all types are really, really good, important things to pay attention to. I'm going to say this straight up. I sometimes cannot process bad feedback quickly. I get kind of defensive, so I understand that instinct. But all feedback can be helpful to you depending on how you use it. Think of feedback as data. It's data that you're collecting. The same way you would survey somebody ahead of time to ask them what they want, getting the feedback after they've used your product or service is so impactful to your company, and it's useful. That's the biggest thing. You can take that feedback and immediately iterate on it. So if you get bad feedback, take a moment, take a beat and say, oh, that's hurtful or, that's offensive or whatever, and decide, is this a piece of feedback that I want to delve into? And you can decide, hey, I'm going to just put this and throw it away. It's not part of what I want to pay attention to. But you can say, have I heard this more than once? Is this something that is a recurring theme? And collect that data. And then what you can do is write a list of the feedback you're getting. And do this in real time if you can. Do this the same day you get it. Is there a way you can iterate on it?
You should check out this video where I'm helping 1,000 people become new millionaires because I want you to be one of them. Thanks for watching.